the same. And me as well, I didn't understand it in the beginning when I was younger and people told me I should learn to be alone and love to be alone. I said, who wants to be lonely, right? Because obviously nobody wants to be lonely. And I felt lonely a lot of the time in my life. So I was like, there is no use in being lonely. It's boring, it's not fun, it's sad. Turned out being lonely and being alone in solitude is not the same. They're definitely not definitions. So, according to Psychology Today, loneliness is marked by a sense of isolation. Solitude, on the other hand, is a state of being alone without being lonely and can lead to self awareness. This is actually where most of your growth happens. And I know a lot of people also say, like, oh, why would I choose to be alone when I can be surrounded by so many people? But when you are alone in solitude is when you get to make the best decisions. You get to reflect about your life choices, about the people in your life, the choices that you have made. You get to find clarity. You get to find forgiveness for yourself in your thought process. You can start to meditate. You can write in your diary. All of that happens in solitude. And that's actually when we grow the most. And I actually really thought that that was like some BS that people were saying, like, oh, you need to learn to be alone and like to be alone and all of that. Turned out I actually grew a lot when I started to learn to be alone and to choose to be alone and not be lonely, right? So just that's the difference. Remember it. Solitude is not the same as loneliness. Now, why solitude is so important for your self reflection and your self growth, right? Because a lot of people say, like, oh, why is it so important to like be in solitude, or be able to be alone, be able to go on a date with yourself? Well, actually, when you're surrounded by people, there is so much noise, right? There's people, social media. You get so easily distracted by everything and anything around you. And as much as a lot of us like to say, oh no, I make my own decisions, I don't get influenced by people, or I don't get influenced by social media, unfortunately, that's a lie. Because even when you say you are not easily influenced, or you're not influenced, you're not influenced by people to make a decision or by social media, it's kind of like planting a seed, right? So the people, their advice and all everything you see on social media, they just plant a seed. So even if you're not easily um persuaded to do things, you don't really hear your own thoughts, and that seed that's planted, your thoughts are going to swirl around that seed. And while it's swirling around that seed, unfortunately, the things that you think and the choices that you make and the decisions that you make are not entirely yours. You wouldn't actually know if you would make the same decisions if you would be on your own without those distractions from people, social media, and everything around you. So, solitude helps you connect with yourself, your true, true thoughts, right? Because it's so easily to get distracted by noise. Like, you don't hear your own voice in your head anymore. And it's so important to hear that voice, to listen to that voice, to reason with that voice, and to make decisions based on what that voice tells you. Because that is your own thought, not while you are making decisions in a big group. Have you never noticed that when you make the dumbest decisions or you do the dumbest things, and now I'm not talking about life altering decisions, I'm just talking about small decisions, having fun and stuff like that, right? Most of the time when you make those dumb decisions, you're not by yourself. If you're by yourself, the chances of you actually making that decision and doing that is so small. For example, I had a friend, and this was a couple of years ago. So it was her birthday and we went out. And where we were, it was in the summer, so there was like a huge pool. But that pool was not made for people to swim in, right? That pool was just there for decoration because it was summer and the summer vibes and everything. Now, she said, Oh, imagine I would jump in the pool later on, right? We all said, like, we, her close friends, said, don't do that. It's a bad idea, right? She turned out she actually turned out that she wasn't really going to do it, and then her coworkers came, and her coworkers actually were like saying like, oh, imagine you jump in the pool. Oh, you should really jump in the pool. That would be so funny. And she kept on drinking, and she said, oh, I'm gonna jump in the pool. And we told her, like, no, don't do that, right? Like, don't do that. This It's stupid, because she was also wearing a tube top, like no straps, tube top. And her coworkers kept saying, like, oh no, come on, just do it. It's gonna be fun. Turn out she actually jumped in the pool. What happened when she got out? When she stood up in the water, her tube top just was underneath her boobs. Bad decision. Now we all can laugh with the situation, she included. But if she would not have listened, if those other people weren't around, she would have not have really done it. She would think about it. Oh, it would be funny, ha ha ha. But she wouldn't have done it actually. So you see, those decisions usually don't happen when you're alone. You don't do those things when you're alone. But whatever, it's a cool memory. But that was just a story about small things, right? They don't really change that much in your life. And also, when she flashed everybody, there was practically nobody but us anymore because the club was closing. So she got lucky. But that could have turned out pretty nasty if it wasn't the case. So just know that that is the moment that you make the best decisions alone. When all the noise is canceled, when you hear your own thoughts clearly. And you also get to grow because for example, people who write things down in a diary, they actually learn to really put like their thoughts on in a row, right? It helps them also with saying what they think. But not only that, it helps them make decisions based on what they used to feel in the moment that they wrote that down, right? Ideas, thoughts, everything, right? Is when you are alone, are actually coming all to you. Now, how to enhance alone time without feeling guilty? I know it's not the easiest thing. When all your friends like saying, "Oh, come on out," and you actually need that alone time, like the quiet time, it's hard to say no because you don't want to stand up your friends. You don't want to be the one who's never around and all of that. I understand that. And I used to have trouble with that too. But saying you're busy to be alone, it's a real thing. Like, it's okay because you are busy. If you plan on being alone, for example, tonight, and your friends text you like, "Oh, we're going for a drink. Do you want to come?" You can say, "No, I'm busy." It's totally fine because you are busy. You are working on yourself, or you just need the quiet time. Turned out, I really loved being alone. I love solitude. And sometimes I need to push myself out of it because I can actually stay inside my house for long periods of time and not see any of my friends, not talk to anybody. And I just like it. I actually love it because being alone, I get to put my all my thoughts in a row. I get to plan. I get to just unwind. I get to meditate, or I can watch a movie or a series without people asking me questions. And yes, I know I also do that when I'm with people. So for me as well, it's sometimes more fun to watch a movie or a series alone because I don't ask questions. But it's okay to take a step back and recharge because when your cup is empty and you keep on giving and giving and giving, you're gonna you're gonna break down, right? That's how people get into burnouts. Some people get in depressions. So it's very important to take that alone time to recharge your batteries. It's very important. Like read a book. Or if you don't like a physical book, read on Audible or Kindle. Or watch a movie. Go to a little cafe and drink a coffee by yourself. Or go to dinner by yourself. And I know that's a huge step forward of being alone, being able to be alone and actually going on dates with yourself, because I know it took me like I think a year or two to actually do that. And when I started doing that, it's so fun. I just take a book with me and I just go out. I sit at a local cafe or something, and I drink a coffee and I just read my book in peace. And that's actually really fun for me. But that's me again. But you should really try it. Like, or go to the movies by yourself. It's also fun because you don't talk either way in the movies. So you can also do it alone. And that's how you can actually also enjoy your solitude. You can you can pursue new hobbies, right? For example, imagine that you've always loved to paint as a kid, right? But you stopped along the way because you had to grow up, right? Now is the perfect time to start painting again and take that as a you time. Or that's something I also do. But for example, diamond painting, I really find it relaxing. And sometimes I find myself when I'm home alone for the weekend, just grabbing all my stuff and just diamond painting with a podcast on. Just not going out on a Friday night, just diamond painting. Or you can go learn to do new things, like an active hobby where there are people, but you're going by yourself. You don't know anybody, right? Then after a while, you get to know people, and then you can't really do that in solitude anymore. But you've picked up a new hobby, or you can learn to play a new instrument, right? There are a lot of creative ways to have fun in solitude. Like, solitude doesn't need to be you just sitting there like this, just like staring. It doesn't. Like, it's not boring to be alone. Learn to love yourself, because the only two factors that are a given in life is yourself. Well, in your life, right? It's yourself physically and your mind, right? So learn to love yourself. There's only one of you. Now, solitude can teach you so much, so many things. Like, you can learn about the things you desire most, or you can learn about new fears that you want to explore, or you actually you get the opportunity to understand yourself. And that is something that a lot of people take for granted. Understanding how your mind works, and understanding how your thoughts work, how your thinking process goes, your ambitions that doesn't exist. Your ambitions, your goals, like, you can write them down, work on them, define them better, work towards them, make a plan to work towards them. Like, you can you learn so much about yourself. And well, if you don't know what to do in your alone time or in your solitude, there's always Google. Just Google, what can I do as a beginner learning to be alone? Like, even here on this platform, even on YouTube, you'll find plenty of people telling you things you can do when you're by yourself in your solitude, like in your alone time. I That's actually when I made a lot of big decisions, when I was by myself. That's also when I decided to break up my relationship from 8 years. It wasn't a healthy relationship, so that's why. But it was 8 years, and four out of the eight, if not five out of the eight, were very unhealthy. And even though it wasn't healthy, I didn't realize it. And when I actually started to learn to be alone and start to meditate and think about my life and my life goals and where I want to go and where I want to be in life, is when I realized that that relationship was very toxic, and I love that person with my whole heart, and I'll probably always love them. It's a different love, but I will always love that person. I want to see that person win, but unfortunately, not with me. And that's the day I broke up. It actually took a huge weight off my shoulders, because I was just pouring out of an empty cup, and I never realized it until I was in my solitude, and I started thinking and being alone, and being alone with my thoughts, and seeing how I was thinking and how everything was affecting me. So at the end of the day, solitude isn't about um isn't about isolating yourself, you know? It's about making space for yourself, for the things that you think, for the things that you feel. And it brings clarity and recognize yourself. Like it is truly important, and it's a superpower being able to be by yourself. To love yourself is also a huge superpower. You get to really experience life and you actually find happiness. For those who struggle with finding happiness, happiness is not another person. It's here. It's well, here or here, right? It's being alone with yourself. You need to be happy. You need to understand yourself. And with that, I'm signing out. To Lost and Lessons, stay fried, guys.